I'm so excited to have here a wonderful guest, a very special guest, because he has a wonderful story. And this is a story of love, hate, but also about forgiveness. And, each and every one of us, go through different difficulties, obstacles, adversity in life. And the story of Roy Juarez Jr. is right here in this book, Homeless by Choice by Roy Juarez. And you can get it just about any of the online platforms, any of the bookstores. And I really recommend that you get his book and learn about this wonderful story. But guess what? We have him here live. We have him here in our podcast, and he's here in McAllen today. And as a matter of fact, you were signing some books today, and I saw a big line of people getting your books, and you were doing some autographs.
Yes, I was at Barnes & Noble signing books today here in McAllen, so I'm very grateful. I was actually in town because Wesco ISD brought me in. I've had a beautiful relationship with Wesco ISD for almost the past 15 years, where I come in and work with students. And so I was back in the community, and Barnes & Nobles was kind enough to let me do a book signing.
That's awesome. Yeah. So I know that you do conferences. I know that you go to schools, university, colleges, high schools, and you're sharing about your story.
Right.
And that is a story that has inspired others, because many people feel that their obstacles, their adversity is basically something that is tearing down their life, destroying life. But I also know that many people have also been inspired by your story, and they have overcome
Absolutely.
these. Can you please start by telling me what happened at 12 years of age in San Antonio, how this story began?
So the story begins officially when I became homeless at the age of 14, eventually with my 9-year-old sister and 2-year-old brother due to domestic violence. My parents had a really rocky relationship, to where my father stepped out of their marriage many times, and he was very violent. And finally, my mom one night just snapped, and she was like, I'm done with this. But my father had the idea that if he couldn't have her, no one was going to have her. And so we had to go into hiding.
So you had to make a choice. And I guess Homeless by Choice, the title of your book?
Actually, not at that moment.
Not at that moment.
Not at that moment. So when you mentioned about being at 12, that's when it started, when we had to go into hiding. So we were bouncing from home to home, and every time he would find us, we would lose more and more things. And it eventually got to the point that my mom was no longer there mentally and emotionally. And who can blame her? Like, she's running for her life. And it's interesting, if I may jump ahead.
Sure.
One day I'm speaking at a prison, a juvenile hall actually, in upstate New York, and I have my mom with me. So I just spoke to the kids. It was an all girls facility, and my mom's with me. So after they hear the story, they're talking to my mom. And so I'm talking to someone, but I'm listening to make sure my mom's okay and she's safe. And one girl goes, "How can you leave them?" Right? It was an older lady. "How can you leave them like that?" And she said something that changed the entire perspective of my life. She says, "You don't get it." She said, "He wanted me dead." She said, "If he were to find me, he would just kill me." So in her brokenness and her thought process, if she got rid of us, she was saving us.
Wow. God, this is years later,
Years later.
now your mom was accompanying you, sharing the story.
But as a teenager, I didn't know that. All I knew was that mom left me, dad left me, grandma and grandpa didn't take me in on either side. My aunts and uncles wouldn't take me in. And as an adult, I get it. Like, they had their own lives. They were building their own lives. They had their own relationships. But as a 14-year-old kid, all you take back is that no one wants you, that you're a burden, that why should you even be here when no one wants you? Why should you even want yourself when you're the issue?
You were basically now at the mercy of the streets.
Absolutely.
What happened there?
Oh, well, you say it like that, and all these memories pop up, because some places were good. Some families were great that took me in, but they could only keep me for so long. And the reason I say that is I get it. You get there, grocery bill goes up, electricity bill goes up. Some families that took me in, their children didn't want me there, because now they have to share. They got to make room, and so that's their child. So if I was lucky, I would get to stay somewhere, at least a month if I was lucky. And then I would live out of my bag and couch surf and keep bouncing until Another family took me in
from home to
from
home,
home to home.
being rejected. Um,
No,
there was at some point a turning point.
right. And real quick though, I wouldn't necessarily reject it because I'm very grateful to the families that helped me as long as they could help me. Right. They didn't have to help me at all, but they did. And they gave me food to eat for one more day. They gave me a roof to sleep under one more night. And for that, I will forever be grateful for.
Domestic violence is a huge problem in the United States.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. And I think that one thing for parents that I've learned is that kids never stop loving their parents. They stop loving themselves. And I think that as they grow up and we get older, that is something that we have to learn to undo from our childhood because we put a lot of blame on ourselves for what happened at home, even though it wasn't our fault.
There was at one point that you approached a church. You needed
I did.
a
A place to stay.
place to stay.
Well, right before that, I actually, the reason I did that was I heard a motivational speaker.
You did.
By chance. I stuck into a hotel to steal a meal, heard this woman speak, and I was like, if she could do it, I can do it. So I got my little brother, sat on the front porch of this church, and I asked the church, can we live in your church? I said, I'll clean it for you. And my hope was that they would let us live there. I would send my little brother. I would send him to school. He'll have all his dreams. Even if I gave up all of mine, he will have his. But those ministers said, no, you're not going to live in this church. You'll live with us. With the only condition that I return back to high school because I had dropped out.
And this speaker was?
Her name was retired Lieutenant Colonel Victor Castillo.
She happens to be from Illinois. Or
No.
we lived in Illinois.
Yes, she did live in Illinois. She, her family did. They were part of the Silver City, which was actually a boxcar settlement way back in the day, to where when they moved, when the family had migrated to Illinois, no one wanted to rent to them. So the owner of the steel mill put boxcars in this town.
No windows.
No windows. Yes, yes. You know the story. They put them in the town, and so the Castillos rented one of the steel mills. And that was Consuelo's parents.
She eventually became your mentor.
Yes. Yes. Well, what happened was, I went to high school as I needed to because that's what my adopted parents wanted me to do, which I love my adopted parents. They are my parents. Family isn't just the blood that runs through our veins. Family is the love that's in our heart. We can create family. So if you don't have a family, a blood family, and you aren't able to build that relationship with them, you can create your own family. That's family too. And so I went out to college, in community college, and the dean was like, Roy, you're going to come to our event? I'm like, yeah, sure. Who's speaking? And it happened to be the same woman 7 years earlier.
And you introduced her.
And I get to introduce her. Nobody knows my story. No one knows my story.
She didn't know you were here.
No one knew. Not even the dean who asked me to speak. She didn't even know. So everyone was dumbfounded when I stood there and I was like, you don't know me, miss, but I know you. 7 years ago, I snuck into a hotel to steal a meal, and I heard you speak. And because of your words, today I'm in college.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. What happened to her? Do you know where she's at?
Oh, absolutely. I just talked to her on the before I came here. So she still lives in Nevada. She speaks still. She's an amazing woman, powerful, and powerful. And she was pivotal. I mentioned that I have another book called that we wrote during the pandemic called the 4 Steps to Not Allowing the Pandemic to Affect Your Home from a Social and Emotional Standpoint. And it was co-authored with her.
Wow.
Yeah.
Now, you at one point wrote this book,
Yes.
Homeless by Choice. And there's a little story, something very brief, because you happen to know about my sister.
Yes.
Tell me about it.
About your sister?
Yeah.
Does she can't drive?
She's still learning how to drive. You know, she's still... I don't know how she passed the driving test. I don't know.
I'm joking. Anna, don't kill me for that one. I was serving her community, and
Sterling Rock Falls, Illinois.
Yes.
Dixon.
Sterling, yes. And we were driving and we were laughing and having so much fun that the next thing you know, she runs over the curb. And so ever since that, I can't believe I'm even telling you the story. She'd be so mad at me. Ever since that day, every time I visit her community to serve, I was like, you sure you don't want me to drive? And she's like, Croy, stop it. Get in the car.
Oh, that's awesome.
But I love your sister. It's funny because when I wrote Homeless by Choice, I probably had like 2, 3 chapters. And I asked your sister one day, we're sitting in a small coffee shop in California. I said, can I please read you a piece of my book and let me know your thoughts? And I read it and I'm crying and she's crying because I was telling a story about the day that I spoke, that conference that I snuck into.
Mm.
I later learned that it's called the FEW Conference, Federally Employed Women's Conference, right? So one day I reach out to them and I put, because of FEW is now reaching over 100,000 kids across the nation. Well, they don't have a youth program, so it caught their attention. And when they read it, they couldn't believe what I was doing and that I stuck into their conference to steal a meal. They invited me as their keynote speaker.
Wow.
14 years later. Now, I believe this is a God thing because I call Consuelo up. I said, Miss K, you're never going to believe what happened. She goes, what, mijo, what? I said, you're never going to believe who asked me to come speak. She goes, who? I said, FEW. She goes, when? And so I gave her the date. She goes, 1 second. And she looks up. She goes, Roy, you're not going to believe it. I said, what, mijo? I go, what, miss? She goes, I'm actually speaking the day before in the same city. She goes, I will change my flight. She goes, and this time I will sit in the audience as you speak.
Wow.
So in the book, I talk about that moment that I walked on stage at this conference, and visually, I looked to the back of the room where I was sitting in a different city, but in the conference where I was sitting when I was that homeless kid. And in the book, the part that I'm reading to your sister is, if I could just run to him, if I can just run to him and tell him, don't give up because you have no idea how life is going to turn out. You have no idea. Sorry. You have no idea how much you're going to love your nieces. You have no idea how you're going to build a relationship with your mother. You have no idea how good life is going to be. Don't give up. Right. And so I'm reading that to your sister. And I think for anyone watching this, you can never give up. Life gets better. You can put in the work for it to get better, but don't give up. Life does get better, but you have to put in the work.
You have to put in the work.
Yeah.
Wow. And it happens, that today when you signed my book, you did put never give up. I opened the book and I said, wow. There's been so many times, when I've seen obstacles come to my life, adversity, hate,
Yeah,
so many things that come to my life. And I guess that's now the message that you have when you come to these schools, colleges, conferences.
Absolutely.
But you have also testimonies of people who have listened to your conferences, but also have made changes.
Yes.
Put in the work.
Yes.
And things got better.
Absolutely.
Tell me, does somebody come to mind?
Yeah.
You don't have to mention full names, but
Yeah. One day I receive a message on social media and I was working. So a message pops up on Facebook and it says, hey, sir, I just want to say thank you. And I wrote back, you're welcome. And I closed out the chat. Right. So it pops back up and the kid said, you don't even know why I'm thanking you. And I was like, oh my gosh. So I read back, I said, you're right, mijo. I'm very sorry. Why are you thanking me? Right. It pops back up and he said, I'm thanking you because you came to speak at my school. I attend a school in Minnesota. He said, and after you spoke at my school, you went to go speak at my mom's school. She's a teacher here in Minnesota. He said, and after you spoke at her school, she came and found me. He said, sir, I'm 18 years old. I haven't seen my mom since I was 2 years old. He said, and I'm starting a relationship with her today because of you, and that's why I'm thanking you. And I was in tears, and I was like, mijo, thank you so much. Please, you need to keep me updated. What happens? And you just never know. Everyone has a story.
Right.
Everyone has a story.
Stories like these just continue to.
Right. And that's why I take it so serious, because I'll go to a school and I have to give my A game. I got to give them everything because I don't know who's in the audience and I don't know what they need. I don't know if I may be the last person that gives one more chance to inspire them. Don't give up. And so I have to be able to give them my all.
So when you come to schools, for example, you came to Westlaco, right? To talk to these students. I bet they hear a lot about this wonderful story,
They do.
and what is something here that you try to.
Well, I'm grateful. I'm grateful to Wesleyan because they gave every student that we spoke with a copy of Home. Yes, they did. They did. And let me tell you something about Wesleyan. When I was on my homeless by choice tour, crisscrossing the nation, trying to inspire over 100,000 kids, I didn't have any money, no grants, no sponsors for this journey. So it was all by donation. Wesleyan at that time, my story came out in a Chicken Soup for the Soul book, which is a huge book series. So my story was in Chicken Soup for the Soul, Extraordinary Teens. And so Chicken Soup for the Soul would sell me the copy, and I would be able to sell it for a little more to make a small profit. Well, when they found out what I was doing, they called me and they said, we're going to sell you the next 500 books for $2 each so that you can make some money to help you on the tour. Wesleyan bought all 500 copies. And so they helped me reach thousands and thousands and thousands of kids by doing that. I came and I think I spoke like 11 times while I was here on my tour. And then I was able to use that funds to get to the next city and the next city. I'm very grateful and I love you, Wesleyan.
Roy, some people will reach out, through social media, but many probably won't. But it's going to be really hard to dimension the impact that your story. I mean, you put in the time, you put in the effort. I mean, you travel, you're on the road. I mean,
It's draining.
it is, right? But at the same time, it's encouraging, right?
Yes. And I don't think that I need to know the impact. I just need to do the work. People ask me sometimes, what do you want your legacy to be? And this is to each their own, but I'm like, I really don't care what my legacy is. I just need to do the work because when I'm gone, I'm gone. But I'm not the only one doing it. There's so many other people doing the same work I'm doing. There's the Lorena Coronas of the world. There's the Consuelo Kickbushes. There's the Anas that are doing the same work, right? We need to do this together. There's too many hurting kids that even if someone just says, remembers me from a presentation as, oh, some homeless guy came to speak to us. That's fine. I'll be the homeless guy. That's all that matters, that they take back the message.
And Roy, you mentioned God a little while ago. Where is he in this story?
I think he was in the entire story. He was in the good and the bad. I did an interview one time. It was a Christian radio station. And they said, what moment was it that God came in and he saved you? And I said, there was never a moment. And the interviewer said, you're on a Christian radio station, right? I said, yes, I know. But there was never a moment he came and saved me because he was always there. He was always there. He had a purpose. I'm going to show you another real quick story. One family who took me when I was homeless, they had a big chair with big armrest. I was a teenager. I was like 15, 16. And I was sleeping in one of their spare bedrooms. Well, in the middle of the night, I leave that room and I sneak into the living room and I crawl into the chair and I put my back into the chair and my legs over the armrest. And I was pretending that someone was hugging me. Oh, wow. Because I needed a hug. And I remember reading somewhere in the scripture that said not to question God. So I said, God, I will never question you again. Instead, when I want to question you, I'm going to say, I don't understand, but I love you, but I don't understand. And I've never asked again. There's a purpose, and we'll figure it out.
It's part of the message that many who are struggling in life today need to learn and to hear.
Yeah.
God is the creator of this universe. But unfortunately, I mean, we're so sinful that we make bad decisions.
Which is why I don't exclude everyone. My message is one for all, for everyone. It's to inspire people to not give up, no matter what label they may wear. All of our kids need hope. Even when it comes to the whole church idea, don't tell me about your faith. Show me your faith. Show me who you are. Show me who you serve.
You believe in Jesus?
Absolutely.
Live a life that you don't have to preach, but your lifestyle shows,
Absolutely.
that you believe in the resurrected Christ.
Absolutely.
You know,
Yeah. And if you must use words to minister, then use them.
that's right.
But first, show it through your love for people.
As a matter of fact, that's what Jesus said to the disciples after he washes their feet.
Yeah.
It says chapter 13 of the Gospel of John. He says, if you love each other, people will know,
Absolutely.
that you are truly my disciples.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wonderful. I know you have this book, but you have other books. Tell me about the other
Well, I
books.
do. So it's like I said, the one that I have co-authored with my mentor, the 4 steps to not allowing the pandemic to affect your home. I have two children's books, one that's in publication, one that's more private. The Adventures of James and Roy. It actually honors my best friend for being there. I mean, in the book, children's book, I turned him into a dog, right? No offense, James, but it's a talking dog, at least that. And the other one is called A Love That Cannot Be Forgotten, and it's a for my adopted parents. My mom is battling Alzheimer's, and so she doesn't remember much of us. So I wrote it so that my dad could read it to her to remind them who we are and who he is to her.
Tell us about where they can find more information. Do you have a website, social media platform, things like
You
that?
can visit my website at my name, RoyWattesJr.com, or my company name, IMPACTtruth.com. Impact Truth are the 2 core values of my company, impact and truth. And we want to make sure that we impact this world and do it in truth.
Yeah. So this is basically an opportunity to also share that if you want to invite him to your school, to your college, to your conferences, to reach out to Roy Juarez, and I'm pretty sure because it has been, I heard of you through my sister years ago. I remember, and at one point you visited McAllen some years back, and that's when we initially met. But when I see the book, when I see what you're doing through these conferences and the people that you have inspired, I mean, this is for sure someone you gotta have as a guest speaker in your conference in your school. Thank you so much for being here with me today as you start heading out. I know you
And
got
I'm headed up
or
to San Antonio from
San-
here, then from San Antonio to Abilene, and then from Abilene, I get to go back home, where we have a bunch of programs that we work with youth across Southern California. But
Sure.
one last thing, if I can say anything, something that I've adopted, if people can hate for no reason, that means we can love for no reason. We're in a time where we need to show more love.
Mm.
There's so much anger and hatred out there. Don't be a part of it. Be the change. And so that's what I would say.
Thank you very much, Roy. Thank you for
Thank
being
you.
here with me today.
Thank you so
And
much.
look forward to seeing you soon. And if you make it to Illinois, just make sure you drive. Not my sister.
Not your sister. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. God bless you all.